The champagne flutes clinked around me as my sister Vanessa stood in the center of my parents' backyard, her engagement ring catching the afternoon sunlight. The party had been going for 2 hours when she pulled me aside with Mom and Dad flanking her. Kitchen. Now, Vanessa said. I was 29, a portfolio manager at Sterling Investment Group. Vanessa was 26, working part-time at a boutique, newly engaged to Derek. Inside, Dad closed the door. Vanessa launched in immediately. Derek and I found the perfect venue. The Ashford Estate. We need $50,000 for the deposit by Monday. I knew the Ashford Estate, the most expensive wedding venue in 3 counties. We need you to cash out your retirement account, Mom said. The 401k from work. I stared at them. You want me to liquidate my retirement? Do you understand the penalties? It's just money, Claire, Vanessa snapped. It's not like you're getting married anytime soon. You can rebuild it. I need this wedding now. The account has about $65,000, right? Mom said, and my blood went cold. 50 for the venue, rest for the dress. How do you know how much is in my retirement account? Vanessa looked uncomfortable. I might have looked at some papers at your apartment last month. You went through my private financial documents? Family doesn't have secrets, Mom waved dismissively. Besides, it's just sitting there doing nothing. It's growing for my future, I said slowly. Your future is fine. You have a job, Dad said. Vanessa's wedding is once in a lifetime. Derek's family is contributing $45,000. We need to match it or look poor. I'm not liquidating my retirement. Claire, be reasonable, Mom started. No. I pulled out my phone. I need to make a call. Who are you calling? Dad demanded. My financial advisor. I dialed. Since we're discussing my private accounts, I should make sure everything is secure. Robert Martinez answered immediately. Claire, good to hear from you. Robert, I need a complete security check on all my accounts. Every transaction, every access point. Can you do that immediately? There was a pause. Robert heard the edge in my voice. Is there a security concern? Unauthorized access to my financial information. I need a full audit. What are you doing? Vanessa shrieked. Robert's tone turned professional. I'll start immediately. I'm also filing a formal report with the Financial Crimes Division. If someone's accessing your accounts without authorization, that's serious. Can you check if there have been unauthorized login attempts? The silence was telling. Claire, I'm seeing 3 attempted logins to your retirement account portal from an IP address that's not yours. All in the last 2 weeks. They failed because of 2-factor authentication, but someone definitely tried. I put the phone on speaker. Can you repeat that, Robert? His voice filled the kitchen. 3 unauthorized login attempts to your retirement account in 2 weeks. The attempts failed, but this constitutes attempted financial fraud. I'm obligated to report this. Vanessa went white. Mom's hand flew to her chest. There's more, Robert continued. Similar attempts on your brokerage account and checking account. Someone's been systematically trying to access your financial information. I opened my laptop and pulled up my security logs. This IP address traces back to this house. My parents' home. Hack is such a strong word, Vanessa said quickly. I was just checking if you could afford. By illegally accessing my accounts? I turned back to the phone. What are the legal implications? Computer fraud, attempted identity theft, potentially wire fraud, Robert said crisply. Federal crimes. I'm required to report this. Wait, Mom said. This is family. Vanessa was just verifying you could help. By committing felonies? My phone buzzed. Sarah Chin, my attorney. Sarah, that was fast, I answered. Robert briefed me, Sarah said. I'm drafting a cease and desist. But Claire, there's something bigger. Robert pulled your complete financial history with family members. You've transferred over $200,000 to them in 7 years. The kitchen went silent. How much? Mom whispered. There's no repayment record, Sarah continued. And I found a loan application from last month. A $75,000 home equity loan using your information as cosigner. Did you authorize it? Absolutely not. The signature doesn't match your documents. This is forgery. Combined with the hacking attempts, we're looking at systematic financial fraud. I looked at my parents. You tried to take out a loan in my name? We were going to tell you, Mom said weakly. We needed to secure funding first. The wedding, Tyler's car, the roof. So you committed forgery instead of asking me. Sarah, I said into the phone, what are my options? Criminal prosecution, FBI involvement since this crosses state lines. Or civil lawsuit for the money given under false pretenses, restraining orders, and ensuring they can never use your information again. The account hacking? Gets reported regardless. Financial institutions are required to report attempted fraud. But whether you press charges personally is your choice. I looked at my family. Mom crying. Dad furious but defeated. Vanessa texting frantically. I want copies of everything. Every transaction, every login attempt, every forged document. You'll have it within the hour, Sarah promised. I hung up and faced them. Sarah is filing a formal complaint about the loan fraud. The FBI will investigate forged documents and interstate banking fraud. You're sending us to prison? Dad stood, voice booming. Sit down, I said quietly, and he obeyed. I've given you $200,000 over 7 years. Money you promised to repay and never did. We didn't know you were keeping track, Vanessa said. That's the problem. You thought I was the family bank, too stupid to notice. Robert's voice came through my still-connected phone. Claire, check your email. I pulled up a detailed portfolio summary and turned my laptop to face them. Investment portfolio, $847,000. Retirement accounts, $324,000. Real estate holdings, $1,250,000. Business investments, $430,000. Liquid assets, $178,000. Total net worth, $3,029,000. $3 million, Vanessa whispered. I'm a portfolio manager. My salary is $340,000 annually. That retirement account you found? Less than 12% of my actual retirement savings. Mom stared at the screen, speechless. The real estate includes my condo, owned outright, and 2 rental properties generating $8,000 monthly. Business investments are stakes in 3 startups. Plus stock options worth another $1 million. Why didn't you tell us? Dad asked hoarsely. Why would I? So you could ask for more? I've spent 7 years being made to feel guilty while you praised Tyler's mediocre sales job and Vanessa's part-time work. We didn't know, Mom repeated. You never asked. Never came to see my condo. Never attended my company events. You saw what you wanted. A daughter who existed to fund your lifestyle. Vanessa's phone rang. She looked at the screen, face pale. It's Derek. You should answer. I imagine he's heard about the fraud investigation. She stepped out. Through the door we heard, No, Derek, wait, it's not what you think. Robert spoke up. Claire, security lockdown complete on all accounts. Additional biometric verification implemented. Thank you. One more thing. That loan application? It was approved pending your signature verification. They plan to present you with paperwork this weekend. I looked at my parents. You were going to trick me into signing at the engagement party? Dad's silence confirmed it. What was the plan? Hide documents in congratulations cards. We just needed you to co-sign, Mom said desperately. We'd make all payments. Until you defaulted. Then my credit destroyed and I'm liable for $75,000. You have $3 million. Vanessa returned, eyes red. You could pay for my wedding without noticing. You're right. I could. But I won't. Why? We're family. Family doesn't commit fraud. Doesn't forge signatures. Doesn't hack accounts. Sarah's voice. Claire, police are on their way. Robert filed the required fraud report. Dad's chair fell over as he stood. You called the police? When fraud is reported to financial institutions, they're legally required to notify law enforcement. Vanessa's phone rang again. She looked at it and started sobbing. Derek broke up with me. He can't marry into a family under criminal investigation. The wedding is off. I waited to feel guilty. But all I felt was relief. Here's what happens, I said. Police investigate. They'll find evidence of fraud, forgery, attempted identity theft. You'll need a lawyer. I won't be paying for it. Claire, please. Mom reached for my hand. I stepped back. I'm done being your safety net. Done funding everyone's irresponsibility. Done feeling guilty for having my life together. We're your family, Dad said, fear in his voice. No. You're people who share my DNA and exploited that connection. Real family doesn't treat people this way. The doorbell rang. Police cars pulled up outside. Party guests were starting to notice. That's my cue. I gathered my laptop. Sarah will send cease and desist paperwork. Robert will secure my accounts. Police will handle the rest. You're destroying our lives over money? Vanessa looked up at me. No. You destroyed your own lives when fraud seemed easier than respecting boundaries. I'm just refusing to be your victim. I walked out as police officers approached the house. Officers, I'm Claire Morrison. My attorney filed a complaint regarding financial fraud. Those are the people you need. I gestured toward the house. I got into my Tesla Model 3, paid cash 2 years ago but never driven to family events, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, police entering, guests leaving, the perfect facade crumbling. My phone rang. Aunt Helen. Claire, I heard. Are you okay? Surprisingly, yes. Your parents say you're being vindictive. What do you think? Long pause. I think you're brave. They're scared of consequences. Claire, I'm proud of you. Those words hit hard. I pulled over, tears blurring my vision. Thank you. That means everything. Will I see you at Christmas? I don't think I'll be attending family events. Maybe ever. I understand. But my door is always open. Just you, no drama. Deal. Deal. After hanging up, I let the tears come. Not regret or guilt, relief. Freedom. Finally able to breathe without family obligation crushing my chest. Text from my friend Michaela. Still on for dinner? You said you had family stuff. It was only 4 p.m. The party had imploded in under 2 hours. I'll be there. And I have the craziest story. Wine. So much wine. I drove toward my real life. My condo, my friends, my career that mattered. I passed the Ashford estate where Vanessa's dream wedding would never happen. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel sad. I felt free. My family asked for one last loan thinking they could manipulate me again. Instead they gave me the greatest gift. A reason to finally walk away. I turned up the radio and drove toward my real life, leaving behind obligation, expectation, and exploitation. Behind me, police cars and chaos. Ahead, possibility and peace. I chose ahead. And never looked back. 3 months later, I sat in my penthouse condo, the one my family had never bothered to visit, reviewing the final settlement documents Sarah had prepared. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden light across my home office. The legal aftermath had been swift and merciless. The FBI investigation uncovered not just the attempted loan fraud, but a systematic pattern of financial exploitation spanning nearly a decade. The forged signatures on the loan application matched samples from 2 other documents my parents had submitted to banks over the years. Attempts to refinance their house using my credit that I'd never known about. Vanessa's hacking attempts, documented and time-stamped, resulted in federal computer fraud charges. The prosecutor had been surprisingly sympathetic when I explained the family dynamics, but the law was clear. Unauthorized access to financial accounts was a crime, regardless of relationship. My parents took a plea deal, 3 years probation, mandatory financial counseling, and a restraining order preventing them from contacting me or using my information for any purpose. They'd also agreed to a repayment plan for the $200,000, though Sarah estimated I'd see maybe 30% of it over the next 20 years. Vanessa faced stiffer consequences. The multiple hacking attempts, combined with her admission that she'd been trying to access my accounts 4 months, resulted in actual jail time, 6 months with possibility of early release for good behavior. Derek had indeed broken off the engagement within hours of the police arriving. Last I heard through Aunt Helen, he was dating someone else and Vanessa was living with our parents, working at a discount retail store. Tyler, who'd been the beneficiary of so much of the money they'd extracted from me, faced his own reckoning. When his employer learned his successful family reputation was built on fraud, he was quietly let go. Apparently, a salesman whose family was under FBI investigation wasn't great for the company image. The extended family had fractured predictably. Half believed my parents' narrative that I'd overreacted, and destroyed the family over money. The other half, once they saw the actual documentation of fraud and exploitation, quietly reached out with support. Aunt Helen had become an unexpected ally, hosting monthly dinners where I could connect with the few family members who understood what had really happened. She'd confessed that she'd always suspected my parents were using me, but hadn't known the extent. "They did the same thing to your grandfather," she told me over coffee one afternoon. "Drained his savings, then acted shocked when he cut them off. I should have warned you." My career had flourished in unexpected ways. When word got out, appropriately anonymized, about my case, I'd been invited to speak at 3 financial conferences about familial financial abuse. My firm had promoted me to senior managing director, partially because of my expertise, but also because my story had resonated with several high-net-worth clients dealing with similar family dynamics. I'd helped 4 people in my professional network identify and address financial exploitation by family members. One woman discovered her brother had been forging her signature on investment documents for 6 years. Another man found out his parents had taken out credit cards in his name and maxed them out. Each case made me realize how common this pattern was, and how rarely people felt empowered to stop it. My investment portfolio had grown to $3.4 million. Without the constant drain of family emergencies, I'd been able to invest more aggressively. The rental properties were performing well, and I just closed on a 3rd property, a small commercial building that would house a coffee shop and yoga studio. But the real change wasn't financial. For the first time in my adult life, I woke up without anxiety. No dreading phone calls. No wondering what crisis would require my money next. No guilt about succeeding while my family struggled with consequences of their own choices. I'd started dating, something I'd avoided for years because bringing anyone into my family dynamic felt impossible. Michael, a fellow portfolio manager I'd met at a conference, understood professional success and healthy boundaries. When I'd explained my family situation on our 3rd date, prepared for judgment, he'd simply said, "Good for you for protecting yourself." We were taking things slow, but for the first time, I could imagine a future that wasn't defined by family obligation. My phone buzzed with a text from Michaela. "Brunch tomorrow? Bringing mimosas and gossip." "My place 11 a.m., I replied. "I'll make waffles." This was my life now. Chosen family, professional success, financial security that was actually mine to keep, and peace that came from enforced boundaries. The doorbell rang. A delivery, flowers from Aunt Helen with a note. "Proud of you every single day." I placed them on my kitchen counter, next to the legal documents officially closing the case. The restraining order, the settlement agreement, the FBI case closure notice. Physical proof that I'd survived, set boundaries, and refused to be a victim anymore. My family had spent years making me feel selfish for wanting to keep my own money, guilty for succeeding, and obligated to fund their irresponsibility. Now they were dealing with consequences while I was finally, genuinely living. Some people called it cold. Aunt Helen called it justice. Sarah called it self-preservation. I called it freedom. And as I looked out over the city from my beautiful home, the one I'd earned, the one I'd paid for, the one that was truly mine, I raised my coffee mug in a silent toast. To boundaries. To consequences. To choosing yourself when no one else will. To finally being free. The sun continued to rise over the city, painting everything gold, and for the first time in 29 years, I felt like I was standing in that light instead of just watching it from the shadows. My family had asked for one last loan. I'd given them one last answer. No. And that single word had changed everything.